Hi everyone, Sean Walbin with Secure Cyber Defense, and this is your bi-weekly cybersecurity update. Well, to start with vulnerabilities today, the Wi-Fi frag attacks vulnerability continues to be in the news. If you're not aware, it was discovered recently that there were some vulnerabilities discovered with Wi-Fi technology. The best advice that we can give here is that if you're currently using some type of Wi-Fi technology, either business or consumer, just take a look at whatever product you're using and reach out to that vendor's website. And if there could be specific updates to address this particular vulnerability. And if they're there, just apply them as soon as you possibly can. Just a reminder from a couple weeks ago, Cisco AnyConnect had a secure mobility client vulnerability patch. The only reason why we brought this up again 2 weeks later is that Cisco VPN technology, or secure VPN, is a very popular technology, especially when working remote. So if you're currently utilizing that technology, hop out to the Cisco website and grab those vulnerabilities. And then just a reminder, Microsoft, obviously Patch Tuesday was this past Tuesday, so Microsoft issued a number of updates. So test and apply those updates as soon as you possibly can. And then Adobe and WordPress have also made updates. The Adobe release is for multiple products. So just hop out to the show notes and our blog to get information about that, to find out what Adobe products were used. Side note, none of this was in the news briefing that I have here in front of me, but just something that I read this morning quickly. It was known that when a company like SolarWinds, for example, actually this was specific to Microsoft. So the Microsoft Exchange vulnerability that came out was being exploited by China by the Hafnium group. It was said that within 5 minutes of that vulnerability being published publicly, that security researchers were able to detect on the internet that within 5 minutes, Exchange servers all over the world were being checked for that vulnerability. 5 minutes of a publicly released vulnerability. It just brings home the fact that when number one, you need to be plugged into some type of intelligent system, that when something of that magnitude comes up, that you're able to get that information and take action on it very fast. Two, escalate your patching to make it happen faster. And then three, utilizing a vulnerability software system to verify that those patches have been applied correctly. So something we'll probably talk about later at some time, but I just wanted to pass that along because it was relevant to what we were talking about as far as vulnerabilities go. All right, so back in the cyber news, major insurance carrier AXA has made the decision that they will no longer pay out ransomware payments. That's significant news. So, it's the analogy of why does the cat keep coming back to your back door? Well, it's because you might keep somebody's leaving out the milk bowl, right? So if we keep paying ransom payments, the hackers are just going to keep coming back. So it's major news that an insurance carrier has decided not to reimburse their clients for ransom payments. As you know, we've repeated it many times on this show. The FBI, the Treasury Department, and the Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, have all made recommendations to not pay ransom because you don't know where those ransom payments are going. If those payments were to end up in the hands of North Korea or some country that's on those lists that we have bad relationships with, then there could be consequences for that. So, of course, at the end of the day, you have to do what you have to do as a company, but those standards, those recommendations are still out there. Now, in more interesting news, AXA, after they made that announcement, came under a ransomware attack themselves. So just to prove that hackers watch the news, they probably watch this show. So that particular company came under a ransomware attack and a denial of service attack. So just something to be aware of. So what's the worth of stolen personal information? A recent report had indicated that credit card details, including account balances up to $5,000, clocking in at $240 a record. Stolen banking logins with a minimum of $2,000 on accounts are going for $120 each. So, you know, this is just information about the value of the information that hackers obtain. And of course, you know, by continually watching this show, you learn how to protect that information. But just some information on just kind of what the going rate is for records. So an outbound email Microsoft 365 security blind spot. So a report has revealed that 85% of organizations using Microsoft 365 have suffered email data breaches in the past 12 months. An additional 93% of organizations who use Microsoft 365 report suffering negative impacts following an email breach. My comment about this is make sure that you know how to operate your Office 365 environment and properly secure it. I'm going to say that the majority of those statistics are for that reason. We have just come into contact and have realized that a lot of organizations move to the cloud and they don't know how to properly configure those environments and use them. That's just the reality of what we're seeing. So if you utilize Office 365 for your email platform, just take the time to either get some additional training to understand how to use it securely, look at the Microsoft Secure Score and make sure that you know how to operate that. Make sure that you've deployed multi-factor authentication and that's properly deployed. I just personally think that that's the reason for the majority of these statistics. So 47% of cyber criminals buying exploits target Microsoft products. Buyers were willing to pay an average of $2,000 for requested exploits. However, some offered up to $10,000 for 0 days. This just, you know, reemphasizes the fact that what we have that's going on out there from a cybersecurity perspective is a criminal enterprise, and that criminals are willing to pay for these vulnerabilities. There was a lot of information that came out just after the Hafnium attack about the sensitive information that Microsoft made available to other partners. So operational security is one of those things that, you know, you just have to keep aware that that cybersecurity is a layered approach, and that you're going to have to take some action as it relates to, if you're invested with Microsoft products, then you need to be educated on the Microsoft product ecosystem. Be aware of your vendor, be aware of the vulnerabilities that are attached to your vendor. One thing that we've done as a company is we've started a targeted vulnerability service. So we can take inventory of all of your products on your network, both hardware and software, and provide targeted intelligence to you when vulnerabilities are detected or released publicly. So that type of product and that type of information is just paramount to being educated. So the term of the week: techniques, tactics, and procedures. They're called TTPs. Techniques, tactics, and procedures, easy for me to say, is just one way that when we're investigating a cyber incident, think of it as the fingerprint of a hacker. So the TTPs often will tell us, after investigating and seeing kind of how an attacker gets into the network, what they do once they get inside, and how they do their business. That gives us an indication of who the threat actor is, and it allows us, when we're investigating other incidents, to look for similar TTPs when we're investigating crimes. Another derivative of TTPs is called IOCs, which are indicators of compromise. Those are the actual IP addresses, the domains, and file hashes. So combine TTPs with IOCs, and that is essentially how a forensic company does an investigation inside a cybercrime incident. Now, there's a lot more that goes into that. Maybe in the future episode, we can talk about the MITRE ATT&CK framework. The MITRE ATT&CK framework is very interesting and is a very important part of TTPs and IOCs. But in case you've heard that term, that's what that is. Sean's Soapbox. All right, this has been it's been an interesting week. Unfortunately, we have seen companies getting hit with ransomware. We've been involved in some of those to assist in the investigation. And it's just sad to have to, report to an organization that something like that has happened. Well, actually, they report it to us, but it's just sad to be involved in that type of situation, knowing that things could be done to properly prepare for it. One of the best ways to prepare for a cyber incident outside of any product, any software, hardware, or service from a company, throw all that aside, is a properly written incident response plan. Have a plan. Know what you're going to do. Get your team together. Talk about what is going to happen. Team, we've just discovered that all of our servers are encrypted with ransomware. What do we do? It's a tabletop exercise that you can very easily have, but have a plan. I was just talking to an organization this week, and there was a user that clicked on a phishing email and gave up some credentials to their Microsoft 365 account. Not ideal. It was important, though, it was encouraging to listen to him tell me that what their plan was and how they responded to that. So, for example, one of the things that they did, and this is in their written incident response plan, is if a phishing email is received and a user gives up credentials, do this. And just some of the things that they did was they reset the password for that user. They went into the Office 365 account and used the button to terminate all sessions for that user. So there was an actual plan. So I just encourage you, it doesn't cost you anything. Sit down and actually develop a written plan on how you will respond. Involve senior leadership. Make sure that executives in the organization know what to expect. And the reason for that is the unexpected or unrealistic expectation that the business is just going to recover in a couple hours. Guys, this could be days, weeks, or months. So depending on the architecture of your organization, depending on your backup solution, those are all things that you have to consider. But I think I'm done with my soapbox. Just make sure that you have a plan, and that's the best way to kick all this off. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. That's all we have. Hope you enjoy the newsletter next week, and I'll see you in a couple weeks for the next cyber video update. Take care.